All right, board gaming enthusiasts, board game mechanics. What do you think about timer-based games? Good? Bad? Forced decision-making? Messes with my optimization? Or, hey, we're actually going to be able to complete and finish this game, and it's going to kind of control the players. So I wanted to talk about a couple of titles in my collection. I'm going to focus on two. Runebound, 3rd edition. Love 2nd, love 3rd, maybe 4th. One day, hopefully. But hey, you never know, right? But also Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls, the board game. Implements it very, very well. Both of these have a mechanical-based timer, but they're implemented differently and they offer a different experience. And this is ultimately the question, yes or no. So this idea of a game timer where you have a set number of turns and stuff might happen in between the turns, stuff might not happen in between the turns, but you have X number of turns to complete the game. And at that point, the game ends or an end game scenario starts. So we can't spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours min-maxing, running around, optimizing. You're going to have to make some hard choices, not always the most optimal choices along the way. That's the first thing you encounter when there's a board game timer. The second thing is the game is going to end at some point. I mean, I have my turn. I can take some actions. I might have a little analysis paralysis where I'm kind of looking and thinking, what am I going to do? But ultimately, we know that the game is going to progress and we're going to be able to finish the game, as opposed to more an open-based game where some players might just play and play and play and play. Again, forcing that decision-making. So Runebound Timer. Runebound's interesting because it's a story-based game where there's a boss encounter at the end. And every turn that goes, you have an Act 1, bunch of turns, Act 2. When Act 2 ends, the boss spawns and it moves into the end game, and the boss will either attack a city or look to do something, and you have to pretty much stop it or not. If you don't, you lose the game. And of course, at certain points along this timer, some story cards will happen, some events will happen. But essentially what this is showing is turn 1, my turn. I'm going to look and say, well, what's optimal for this moment? There's some items in different towns that I might want to buy, different cities, but this item up here is really powerful, but it's going to take 4 or 5 turns to get up there. Then I'm going to have to quest and get the golds. Then we'll be towards the end of Act 1. That might not be the most optimal move. If I hang around here, I can pick up 2 lesser items in the same time and also another quest. So you kind of have to look at what you have and what's available. So from that perspective, playing it, I kind of like a timer because, yes, I like my characters powerful. Yes, I like to have the most optimal character, gear deck, item deck, whatever deck, but we make those decisions with what we have in the moment. I find that feeds into replayability a little bit. Something like Runebound, which I love. I know the stories. I mean, I play the game almost every month, right? Really, really enjoy it. But the fact that the events, the monsters are random within those decks, that the items that are available to purchase in the various cities are random, that means even though I know what the end game is, the fact that I'm on this timer means, okay, I have to make those decisions really, really fast. Now, in this fixed timer, I might get to a point, and it's only happened maybe once or twice, where we're in the middle of Act 2, and the dice gods have blessed me, the token gods have blessed me, the gold gods have blessed me, and I'm kind of okay. I'm ready for the end game. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident, feeling pumped up. So I'm just going to pass those 3 turns. Let's start the end game because I'm ready to go. A timer like that, you have no control over it. It just goes and goes and goes until it ends. Now we jump over to Dark Souls. And the way Dark Souls works is you have these areas of the dungeon or the map. You fight some minions. You get souls. You take those souls, currency, and you trade them into the blacksmith and you draw a card, an item card. Could be armor, could be a weapon, could be magical objects, or you can level up your stats in order to equip these things. When you go through the boards, you rest at the bonfire, you lose a spark. You have a number of sparks depending on how many players at your bonfire. When those sparks are up, the game is over. If you die at any point, any hero dies, you lose a spark, everything resets. The end game is before your sparks run out, you are going to fight an end boss, mini boss, main boss, mega boss. And the mega bosses are just absolutely insane. I mean, just insanely powerful. You have to be insanely jacked up. So in exploring those encounters, you make a decision. Now you say, well, Fritz, that's easy. I'm just going to farm souls, just like in the digital, and I'll go in when I'm at that last spark. Well, that doesn't always quite work out optimally. And what I mean by that is the encounters that you have level 1, level 2, you have different levels of encounters, and you place the cards along the way. I might have a clear run to the boss, the fog gate, to go through, so on the boards, and a sideboard might have a harder encounter. If I'm on my last spark and I farmed the 3, I kind of have to ask that question where it's like, do I go for this last encounter for the sparks, but if I die or I get really mauled and I lose some of my equipment and I lose kind of some of my abilities, my flask, my ember, things like that, my special ability, my luck token, then I'm in trouble for that boss fight. Do I say, look, I'm not going to get everything on this pass. We're in a good position. Let's go for that end run. So a more open-end timer, I find, does the same thing in that we're going to finish this game. We're going to have to make some hard choices along the way, meaning, my gear isn't totally optimal, but the other player's gear is optimal, so let's just absolutely go for it. I don't have the time to be there, farm again, keep farming, see what happens, playing it and exploring it from that perspective with how it works. So timers in general, I can appreciate open world, goes on forever type games. But more and more, I like what timers bring when implemented correctly, of course. I like the timers with how they implement, what they do. Passing it over to my fellow enthusiasts, timers on your board game. Yes, no, or just more gatekeeping and bad board game design from your perspective.